Yesterday was arm day for me. I recorded it and I'm going to be playing that back, watching it with you, giving you the deepest insights possible into how you could construct an optimized routine for yourself to build bigger and thicker arms. But also on screen, I've got a video that I had taken about 9 years ago to the day when I was a pharmacy student. This is at the fitness facility on the college campus that I was attending at the time. And it really speaks to one of the core themes of this video, which is to practice that one kick 10,000 times and not 10,000 different kicks one time. So you can see here, I'm doing a preacher curl, which remains integral to my arm workout all of these years, almost a decade later. This was a kid who was in pain, by the way. This was somebody who was discontented, disheveled, not at ease with himself, not able to make eye contact with other people. And so while this video is going to be about building bigger and thicker arms, I hope you see that as a microcosm for how you could level up your own psychology, your own mental state. All that I've ever really wanted was just to be comfortable in my own skin, just to be at ease with myself and be able to navigate terrains that were foreign to me, right? Being able to go into rooms where I didn't necessarily know what was on the other side of that door, but it was okay because I was jailbroken. You know, Jason was jailbroken and I was out of my head. And all of these efforts, all of these bicep curls, thousands of curls later and bench press reps was all just to get to this point where I could go full circle, take that holy grail and share that experience with you. And that's who I am. Jason, Actualization. I've been on this journey of self-development since 2014 when I discovered meditation and I discovered the idea of cold approaching strangers and becoming more comfortable with myself, working on my physique, just really evolving myself in a number of different areas to not only be more effective in life, but also at ease with myself. That's my greatest wish for you. I hope you enjoy this content and I hope you enjoy this workout montage that I took yesterday. I'm gonna pop on my headphones and again, just give you the deepest insights possible to help you emulate this in a way that makes sense for you, just based on the equipment available to you and your current life situation. So I'm just popping in my earplugs here, the Mox 33 noise reduction rating, ultra soft. I doubled down on this, by the way. I've got a 37 NRR earmuffs. All right, so just gearing up for my first set right now, and I'm going to be supersetting cable hammer curls with the triceps press down. And I've been sort of oscillating between the 35 kg and the 42.5. I think I'm actually gonna bump down this workout and really just emphasize the eccentric, just training the biceps in that stretched position. So I'll see how many reps we get here on the first set. Yeah, so supersetting is really nice because it more than doubles the amount of rest that you get in between subsequent sets training the same exercise. And that was really golden information, by the way. Sometimes your goal is just to increase weight at all costs, but don't increase weight at the degradation your form. So you can see here, I'm really emphasizing the eccentric there. All right, so I just hit that first set for 15 reps, a little bit higher than I like to go. Probably in the next workout, what I'll do is I'll just bump up a little bit to the 42.5. And then in subsequent sets, I can always drop back down to the 35 kg. It's a little bit higher reps than I wanted, but now what I'm gonna do is superset with the triceps press downs and see how many reps we get on set one. Yeah, so 15 reps is quite a bit higher than I would like to go. And right now specifically, I am in a cutting phase. And so this is really, really important to make note of, is that when you're training in a higher rep range, you can build as much hypertrophy, but you're going to be burning through more muscle glycogen. So if you don't want to be as flat and glycogen depleted, especially in a deficit, where you're not going to be eating ostensibly as many carbohydrates, try lifting heavier, but for less reps. Just doing some unilateral work here. And I'm actually starting with my right arm there. Start with your weaker side. Recently, I was just going crazy on the bag, man, and I actually injured my elbow a little bit. And so what I've been doing is just training my right arm back to the strength that my left arm currently boasts. But whatever the case is for you, whatever arm happens to be weaker, all you have to do is start with that side and just match the performance of that with the more dominant side. So just oscillating back now to the cable hammer curls. You can perform these on a bench as well. Just set it at an incline so that, again, you are not maximizing your mechanical leverages, but maximizing the actual recruitment of the biceps here. So I skipped forward there just to show you a couple grinder reps rather. So you want to be training to failure without actually failing, right? So you don't want to be leaving too many reps in reserve, too many reps in the tank. Ideally no more than 2. And over time you'll get the feel for that and it'll become very instinctual, very intuitive. So going back to the press downs here. And in total, I'm going to be hitting these for 5 sets. So one of the best indicators of lean body mass retention, so we're talking about when you're in a cutting phase, right? You're trying to lose some body fat and you want to be a little bit leaner and have more definition. So for example, right now I'm in about a 500 calorie deficit per day. So I want to be very, very mindful of my performance on my top sets. So the first set of every exercise, I may not be going for PRs right now, but what I'm trying to do is just maintain as much mass as possible and by extension performance on those first sets, because the truth is like we don't have DEXA scans in our homes. We don't have ways to actually assess how much lean body mass we're actually holding at any particular point in time. We've got scales, right? They're pretty accurate for assessing like your total body weight, but we don't have the most accurate ways to actually ascertain body fat percentage and lean body mass. So using strength on your top sets is just something that I highly recommend tracking. Yeah, strength is a really good proxy, proxy for lean body mass, by the way, even when you are at maintenance calories. When you're in a deficit, it's all the more important to actually preserve that lean tissue that you've worked so hard to actually build. But I do recommend using the first set of every exercise as your performance indicator. Going back here to the cable hammer curls. So what I've done here is I just recorded every single set for you, just try to give you as many angles as possible. Getting a little bit of a pump here. Doing a side bicep flex. Going to be going back to these press downs here. Yeah. I'm really digging the noise cancellation. It works really well, by the way. If you use an insertable earplug in concert with the over-the-ear muffs, highly, highly recommended. Really helps you get in the zone and develop that mind-muscle connection, not be distracted by the gym music or music that you would otherwise be inclined to play through conventional earpods, for example. So I think one of the greatest misconceptions in the fitness space is that to develop a really good set of side delts, of lateral delts, that you have to actually overhead press. And this perhaps is the epitome of the fact that we want to train the muscle and not merely the movement. We want to adopt a form that doesn't maximize our mechanical leverages, our mechanical advantages, but rather maximally activates, maximally stimulates the targeted muscle group. And so what I'm doing right now is my first set of side laterals, and I'm literally only lifting 15 kg, right? It's not particularly heavy. I'm not overhead pressing. I never have, I never intend to. It's absolutely not necessary to develop a good set of shoulders. And that's just one thing to really keep in mind throughout all of your exercises. How can you maximally stimulate the target muscle as opposed to maximally lift a certain number of pounds or kilograms from point A to point B? Yeah, it's a really good point. And tomorrow I'm going to be filming my entire chest, back, and leg day. And I'm going to actually really epitomize the guillotine press for you. This is something that you'll see virtually nobody doing. And if you actually perform this properly, your pec development, upper chest, is going to be phenomenal. And you won't actually have to incline press. You won't have to overhead press if you're doing the guillotine press in concert with this incline side lateral. These are very, very highly niched ways of performing these exercises that you've probably never seen anybody in real life actually doing. And if you adopt these are going to truly give you an unfair advantage in the aesthetic realm. You do not have to go heavy on these. Form over all else. 15 kg, I'll be honest, that's even quite heavy for me. That's over 30 pounds, right? And if anything, I would decrease this and just be as strict as possible with my form.
So I just hit my top set on incline side laterals. This is actually a really good example of an exercise where if we're going for PRs, sometimes it's just better to hit like a rep PR as opposed to a weight PR, right? So a good example would be, let's say you're benching 200 pounds, but maybe for side laterals, you're only doing 20 pounds. So a 10% gain on the bench press, for example, would be 20 pounds, right? It's pretty appreciable. But 10% of 20 is only 2 pounds. So it's like your gains, you're capped on these side laterals. You're only going to be able to get so strong. And for example, if the dumbbells go up in say 5-pound increments, that could be the difference between like night and day for an exercise like that. So 11 reps on this exercise, maybe my goal next time is 12 reps. I'm not gonna bump that weight. This feels really good. For this particular form, just start really low and go slow. Again, maximize the recruitment of the targeted muscles as opposed to your mechanical advantages. This is incredibly mechanically disadvantageous, but it's still the best thing that you could do for your lateral delts.
Yeah, another important consideration as well is just the percent increase based on the weight increments available to you, right? So let's say you're doing 15 pounds. Again, start low and go slow on these. You're doing 15 pounds on the incline side lateral, but your gym only offers 20 pounds as the next smallest increment. Well, that's a 5-pound increase, which is a 33.33% increase relative to the weight that you're currently lifting, which is really astronomical and not very tenable. So PRs don't have to be in the form of a weight increase. You can also increase just based on the number of reps that you're actually performing. And again, with this one being unilateral work, start with your weaker side and then just match that with your more dominant side. And over time, those are going to level out for you. I feel like this guy behind me was so in his head. I won't show the clip, but I was just reviewing the footage after I shot this, and I want to say he was doing maybe some chest machine action, and he was almost like waiting for me to complete my set before he would actually engage and initiate his. And yeah, I guess my goal for myself was always to get to the point where I was living on my own momentum, on my own inertia. I wasn't really dictated by people around me, by people in my periphery. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, maybe he was being considerate, right? And just didn't want to impose himself on the video that I was making. But also I fear that perhaps he was too inside of his head. I mean, that's certainly just the impression that I get. And I just wouldn't wish that on anybody. Life is so short. And so the best thing you can do is just arrive at this point where you're at ease with yourself and you can express yourself and reside in this judgment-free realm where you just transcend ego and you're no longer living on the momentum of externalities. So again, just getting a few different angles here for you. I just recorded every single set possible just to show you what it looks like in more of a 360 comprehensive fashion here.
So the irony of it all is that, it's like a decade later, God only knows how many thousands of bench press repetitions and curls and squats. It's like all I ever wanted was literally to do what I'm doing right now, which is doing something that's not particularly conventional, right? Or like socially acceptable, just like walking around and vlogging. But literally all I ever wanted was to be able to do that without skipping a beat, right? Without just being discontented fundamentally and just feeling kind of awkward and socially stifled. Yeah, it's been a long walk to freedom, let's put it that way. But quite frankly, and I've said this before, if I had a magic wand and I could give you just one thing, it would literally be that, because that's what my younger self wanted, right? Just to be free from the perception of others, to just be at ease with myself. That's really what I want for you, is to actually be comfortable in your own skin. And I found that my walk to freedom was just an arduous one, and it required me to actually get under the bar, right? To actually have like some skin in the game. And so, because on the one hand, you could be like, did you actually have to jump through those hoops to find your freedom? I don't know. I mean, I'm just speaking, from my own personal experience. That's the mark of my journey, was just blood, sweat, and tears. And so that's the path that I know is hard work and discipline and repetition and structure and just surrendering your ego, like putting it all out on the line, man, cold approaching people and just being willing to be let down, to be put down, to be judged, to be criticized. Even me just putting up these videos, sometimes I get a lot of nasty comments, and I'm at a really cool point now where I don't have any emotional reaction to that, right? Because I'm liberated, I'm free, and that's part and parcel why I'm making these videos, because nobody ever told me that was possible. My parents didn't tell me that, my sibling, my sister, my teachers, my mentors, my coaches, nobody told me that I could actually feel completely content and not be living on the momentum of how I'm being perceived as an ego. So getting a great physique is amazing, but at the end of the day, all roads leads back to just finding your freedom and just shining, man, just stepping into the light that actually gives you life. And that's why I'm passionate about making these videos, and I hope you are too.
Yeah, nothing will serve you better than expanding your comfort zone. So fundamentally, you've got two choices in this life. You can either go easy on yourself on the front end, then life necessarily will be tough on you on the back end, or you can consciously curate a life wherein on the front end, you actually go hard on yourself. And that looks like something like waking up every morning and taking a cold shower. I like to start my days with discomfort, because what I'm doing is I'm consciously curating a life that is effectively me playing life on hard mode, right? Like, it's so tempting to just play life on easy mode, to just go through it in a walking daze of confusion. But if you consciously curate that on the front end, playing life on hard mode, accumulating EXP, leveling up your character, then on the back end, you get to be free. You get to be at ease with yourself. You get to be liberated. You get to walk around being comfortable in your own skin. And the rewards of that are immense and unspeakable. Some more side lateral action. Again, incredibly mechanically disadvantageous here, but incredibly effective for really maximally stimulating the lateral delts here. I never know what they're gonna be playing. I never know. So I love the earplugs. Again, helps me get in the zone and really drown out the noise. So we've got our second superset here of bis and tris, the preacher curls, right? You saw me doing these 9 years ago, and you can see the difference in bicep development here all these years later. But also too, that I'm still performing this exercise. This idea of muscle confusion is complete nonsense. You really just need to overload the muscle, and you don't have to be changing up the exercises. You just need to perform them more effectively. And if anything, narrow down, niche down, do less exercises, but more sets of them. And that's going to be a much more effective workout than what most people do, which is effectively spreading themselves too thin and doing a couple of sets of a lot of different exercises, as opposed to a lot of sets of very few, but curated and intelligently formulated exercises, such as this one, training the triceps in that stretched position. These exercises are absolute money. Back to the preacher curl again, just giving you a couple of different takes here. This is unilateral work as compared with the overhead triceps extensions, at least in the way that I'm performing them, which is not unilateral because they are both together. But I just find that I'm able to keep my elbows out in front of me a little bit more effectively. You could, in theory, perform those in a unilateral fashion as well. But again, just as a reminder, starting off with your non-dominant side, just whatever that happens to be for you. I'm right-handed, but I find that my left arm is actually very strong. See a nice grinder rep rather. Again, back to the overhead triceps extensions here. Just focusing on form over all else. Just leave your ego at the door. Get in the zone, get into a flow state, and really just develop that mind-muscle connection here. Now that is a proper grinder rep. Okay. Side profile shot here. So this is going to be my last rep of the overhead triceps extensions, and that will conclude the superset here of bis and tris. And then I like to end my workouts training arguably the most sexually dimorphic muscle, the forearms. And I'll be supersetting these wrist extensions with a neck flexion. Be very, very careful with those. Neck curls, you can buy a neck harness fairly cheaply, but make sure it's high quality and is not going to give out on you. Adjusting that bench by 2 settings up from the flat position allows me to effectively train this in a stretched position, and that's going to be superior. For the first set, I'm going to be using a stopwatch to track progress in terms of the duration of my isometric hold. And if I get more than 30 seconds, what I will do is increase weight on the next time. This here is 15 kg, so it's over 30 pounds. And I'm just being very mindful of when my neck's giving out and just very quickly supporting it with my hands, trying to get my fingers in there to gain leverage and get a grip to bring it back overhead. Just going to be showing a couple of different angles here as well from each side. Again, you'll have to figure out, just based on the neck harness that you're using, the best way to get things configured and set up in terms of your positioning. But ideally, training this in a stretched position by way of making that incline on the bench is going to be superior, and it will also help as you get stronger and are using bigger plates to make sure that they don't bottom out on the floor beneath you. So again, back to the wrist extensions here, and I like to superset these with my neck work because the grip can so easily give out on these, in contrast to wrist curls where the palms are facing up. So I'm getting ready for some neck curl action. We had a surprise visitor here come in.
How's it going?
How are you?
I
love this lady.
I see you dancing over there.
Hey, are you doing the YouTube?
Yeah.
That's good. How you doing the YouTube?
It's nice.
And the people?
Yeah. Good.
That was nice. I was on the treadmill a few weeks ago and just increasing my total daily energy expenditure post-workout. And she just like walks up to the treadmill to my left and just starts chatting me up. It was really nice high vibration energy. And I really appreciate that, and that's frankly something that 9 years ago, as you saw when I was training in my university, that would have been the last thing on my mind. I can remember I wasn't even able to make eye contact with people. And it's disgusting, man. Like, I don't want that for you. I don't want that for anybody. I just want you to be comfortable and confident and just walking around so that everybody just gets to see the best presentation of you, stepping into the light that actually gives you life. Because the person that looks down, like, that's not really you. You didn't show up here to do that. You didn't show up here to half-ass things. You showed up here to become your best self. You showed up here to actually live life, to sample the proverbial buffet that it can be likened to. And that sampling is predicated on your liberation, on your confidence, how at ease you are with yourself, and better able to navigate this life. And I'm so grateful for experiences like this where I can just chat with a stranger. It feels so good. It feels so good to actually be able to look at somebody in the eyes and actually connect, right? Because I'm no longer bogged down by my own bullshit. I'm not worried about how they're perceiving me. I'm not thinking about what they're thinking about me. I'm just present. I'm just present to the moment. So again, just showing you a different angle here on the neck curl. Be very careful with this. This is a very high quality neck harness. I like the brand RDX, by the way. No affiliation with them. It's just a brand that I've been using for a number of years. They make a really good lifting belt that I used to use. I'm using their dip belt currently. And I believe this is my last set here. So I was doing just three sets of this, supersetted with the 3 sets of the wrist extensions. And then I'll be wrapping up with the wrist rolls, which I perform in actually a unilateral fashion with dumbbells. You can see here the ends supporting one another, and it just allows me to really isolate the forearm work here. Again, just doing 3 sets, straight sets to conclude my workout here. Forearms are incredibly sexually dimorphic, and you can see pretty good development there. You know, you've never seen a feminine princess with really thick forearms. You know, they have very skinny, small forearms. And that concludes the bout there. So I hope what you got from that is what's possible for you, right? How you could actually evolve over time, right? How you could actually consciously curate a workout program that you just stick to and you perform those preacher curls, the same ones, all those years later, and you build a better body. And you see that as a microcosm of other ways that you could progressively overload in life, right? So for me, in 2014 or 2015, it was just talking to these strangers, like these really, really old ladies that were just at this laundromat that I was going to every Saturday morning at the apartment complex that I lived at, just engaging the washer and dryer 1-2 combo and just doing my best to spark conversations with them and just over time greasing that groove. So talking to those ostensibly grandmothers was something approximating, you know, maybe the 20-pound dumbbell that I started lifting with. And then now the 50, 60-pound dumbbells of the world that I'm curling, you know, that's something like approaching somebody who I think I've got something to lose, right? Someone who there's this evolutionary pressure on me to actually be effective with, somebody who is fertile, right? Somebody who I'm actually genuinely seeing myself as desiring, somebody who I'm actually interested in, and somebody whose opinion I would typically care about, right? But just like with the 20-pound dumbbell, you go into each set and you're just doing your best and you're not worried about how many reps you're getting. It's the same mindset. Nothing changes. The 20-pound, the 40-pound, the 60-pound dumbbell, it's actually all the same. And it's just relative to the reference experiences that you've had preceding that. And that's what I hope you recognize, is that whatever reference experiences those are for you will dictate the weight that you're lifting now, but that over time you can build to a much greater point. Thanks for checking out this video today, my friend. Drop a comment down below. Let me know if you have any questions about building thicker, stronger arms, bis and tris. I highly recommend the superset as delineated in this video today. I love you very much, my friend. And as always, until next time, find your freedom. Peace.